The human body is a machine, very sophisticated machine to be sure, but everything that we do, whether running or thinking, requires energy. Just like a car requires energy to run, we have to fuel it either with gasoline or with electricity. And of course, you know what happens when a car runs out of fuel? The car doesn't go anywhere. Well, we also need fuel. In our case, the fuel is food. And if there's no food coming in, unfortunately, the result is starvation. And this happens in the world today. Sad to say that even though we would be able to produce enough food, it is not properly spread around the world and there is starvation. But what are we to make of the claim of an Ethiopian woman who says that she has not eaten or drank anything for 16 years? Well, as Einstein so cleverly told us, energy cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, it can only be changed from one form to the other. That's the law of thermodynamics, and that law will never be repealed. Everything that happens in our body, in terms of metabolism, which is the sum total of all the chemical reactions that constitute life, all of that requires energy. And not only do we require food for energy, but the human body also requires water. Why? Many reasons. Water is needed for sweating, so it thermoregulates. All the chemical reactions that take place in the body take place in solution. You can't digest your food without water. Anyway, there's no life without water. We can live without food for quite some time. It's somewhat ambivalent exactly how long. Probably 8 to 10 weeks is possible. But for water, 3 to 5 days is the maximum. So what are we to make of the Guinness Book of Records that claims that an Austrian gentleman was able to survive for 18 days without water when he was accidentally left in a prison cell and forgotten for that length of time without any food or water? Well, the explanation seems to be that he licked the water that condensed on the cold cement walls of the jail cell. The Guinness Book also records the record for the longest fast, and that belongs to a Scottish gentleman who for 382 days went without food. Of course, he was given coffee and tea and water to drink. He was given vitamins as well. And he lost an amazing amount of weight. He went down from 450 odd pounds to 180 pounds. That's a stunning amount of weight loss, and you can see that the pants that he fit into before were several sizes larger than what he was wearing at the end. And although the story is that he holds the record for going without food for 382 days, that requires an asterisk, because as it is recorded in the medical literature, because doctors, of course, followed his fast. It was, in fact, a medically administered fast. He also took yeast supplements, because yeast contains all the amino acids the body needs. And we don't know exactly how much yeast he took, but it's not true that he went without any food. He did survive, though, although he died at the rather young age of 51. Whether it was due to this fast or not is impossible to say. The man who holds the real record for fasting without any food, although of course consuming water, is magician David Blaine, and he did this for 44 days. He's an outstanding magician, and I have a lot of regard for his abilities in that venue. But he also does these the stunts, and those I do not find very appealing. Things like for something like 36 hours being in a block of ice in Times Square with passersby watching him in there. But the interesting thing was in 2003, when he was placed inside of a plexiglass box, hoisted about 30 feet above the Thames River in London, and the idea was to see for how long he could go without eating anything. Of course, he drank several liters of water every day. What is the purpose of this? Well, to get publicity. In any case, after 44 days, he emerged looking a lot lighter than when he went in. He was immediately taken to hospital and he was examined. He had heart palpitations and there were concerns about his health. He was tested and he was found to be deficient in phosphates. He suffered from hypophosphatemia, which is something that happens upon refeeding after starvation. Because during starvation, the body switches from metabolizing glucose for energy to proteins and fats, and that does not require electrolytes the same way. So then when glucose is eventually introduced, electrolytes are needed, but there's none around because there hasn't been any food intake. So this leads to hyperphosphatemia, and he had to be given intravenous phosphate. Anyway, under medical care, he did survive, and he went on to do other similar feats. For example, he tied himself to 72 helium-filled balloons and rose to a height of 24,000 feet before parachuting back down to Earth. But what are we to make of this Ethiopian lady who claims that for 16 years she has not eaten or drank anything? Well, this story came to light when a video blogger by the name of Drew Dursky followed up on this story and tracked her down in an Ethiopian village. And for 2 days, he interviewed her. He interviewed her neighbors who claimed that they had never seen her eat or drink. She also showed him her passport, with stamps from other countries like Qatar and Dubai, where she says that doctors had examined her and found her to be totally healthy and discovered that there was no food in her stomach. Well, Drew took this as evidence just by looking at the passport, and he declared that he found no evidence of fraud. Well, he should have looked a bit more deeply. Just watching her for 2 days, of course, is not sufficient. I would like to see her put away, perhaps in a hotel room somewhere, to be under observation to see what she really does, how long she will be able to go without food or water. In any case, I think at this point it is sort of cogent to reflect on Thomas Paine's, I think, clever statement when he asked the question, what is more likely, that nature should go out of her course or that a man should tell a lie? Well, I think if we go back to our pal Mullah work in Ethiopia, I think that I can make a pretty good guess about whether or not nature has gone out of its course or whether she has told a lie. I know which way I would vote. So that is the interesting story of this lady in Ethiopia who claims that she defies the laws of nature and has gone for 16 years without a drop of water and a morsel of food. Yeah.